Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of New York Giants Corner here at Toilets to Titles. And this is your host, Joe. I hope all is well. And today is Wednesday, May 17th. I can't believe we're in the middle of May. It's unbelievable. But today we're going to be talking about, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the acquisition, or I should say the drafting of Jalin Hyatt, wide receiver out of Tennessee in the third round a few weeks ago in the draft. And you may be wondering, hey, Joe, it's weeks past the draft. Why are you talking about Jalin Hyatt now? Well, because quite frankly, there isn't too much I want to really talk about right now. There's not like, I see other content creators seemingly struggling for content, and like I don't really care about the Saquon Barkley contract. I mean, I want him to be a long-term Giant, but it's not something I want to do an episode on, to be honest with you. I hope they work those things out. I have no doubt that he will be playing for the Giants this upcoming season. But whether it's just he only plays this season or hopefully they actually get an extension done. Hopefully, I'm hopeful about that sometime this summer. That would be great. But it's not something I really want to talk about. And the content's kind of dry right now this time of the year. So it's right after the draft, and I really what I wanted to do instead of just doing one episode on the entire draft class this year, I wanted to give a decent amount of time to each pick, at least each pick in the first three rounds. And so I did one episode. The first one was on Deontay Banks. The second episode was on John Michael Schmitz, and now this episode, of course, is on wide receiver Jalin Hyatt. And man, I still can't say enough about the achievements of the front office of our front office this offseason. They free agency they used so well to set us up for the draft where we didn't really have to. We still had holes to fill because listen, we're not a tier one team. We're a tier two team. We're a good team, and I don't think anyone can really take us lightly, unless you're the Eagles, who stomped our teeth in a few times last year. But that's okay. But I think we're still a team. We're a team that's still on the come up, and we still had holes to fill. And I think this front office did a fantastic job in free agency to set us up for the draft, where we didn't have to reach too much. We didn't really have to reach. Um, there was still great players of value when we picked, and I thought they maneuvered around a few times in the first three rounds beautifully. Um, and I love the trade up for to move up one spot to get Deontay Banks. I had no problem with that at all. And then John Michael Schmitz, I still can't say enough about how lucky we were that he was sitting there for us in the second round. And then lo and behold, in the third round, we moved up like 16 spots to get him. I don't really care. That's fine. It's not like we're giving up a second round pick next year. We gave up our third round pick and I think our fourth round pick and then maybe like a seventh round pick or something like that. I'm totally fine with that because we got potentially a very good wide receiver in Jalin Hyatt, who I want to talk about right now. But before I do that, I want to get the bells and whistles out of the way. If you can, please hit that like and subscribe button. Give us that 5-star Apple review. All those things really help us out a lot to grow our brand here at Toilets to Titles, where you can find the show or all of our shows, Apple Podcast, YouTube, Facebook, Podbean, and Spotify. ToiletsTitles.com, our beautiful website. It has all of our videos, all of our articles, uh, anything to do with football. Here at Toilets to Titles, we basically cover it. And I should say it's really the T2T network, which consists of Toilets to Titles, which I'm part of, as well as the CFB Nation, which covers college football. So they basically cover the college content, and then when those players graduate, Toilets to Titles takes them over. But go to our website. It has all of our content for both Toilets to Titles and the College Football Nation. And again, we cover fantasy football, NFL, NCAA football, and we love our fantasy football. That was our original bread and butter. That's how we originally started fantasy football. We branched out quite a bit since then. And again, just real quick, we have partnered with, a few months ago, we started partnering with the CFB Nation. They are now our sister channel here at the T2T network. And again, they cover college football, and they are a great group of people who do a wonderful job. Please subscribe to them on YouTube, follow them on Twitter. At Twitter, they are referred to as at the CFB Nation. So if you go on YouTube, I just want to call out um, there are two channels with similar names. There is a channel called CFB Nation. That's not us. We are the CFB Nation. So please subscribe to those guys at YouTube as well, and they do a fantastic job. We were getting from our guys over at the CFB Nation during the draft just a few weeks ago. We were getting the picks from our CFB Nation guys like a minute before they were announced, and we were giving them out about a minute before they were announced, on ESPN or live on TV. So next year you got to check us out when it's draft time. We'll be giving you the good inside information before it's live. And also, if you can go to patreon.com/show us the titles, you can learn how you can further support the show. And I want to say thank you to our current Patreon supporters. We appreciate you appreciating us. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And last but not least, Gilded. We have a chat in the app called Gilded. It's 12 titles. If you'd like to join, just reach out to us at Twitter. Reach out to us on Twitter, and we'll get you in there. And we have like 120 people in our Gilded chat now, and we're always talking football. We're always talking fantasy football. We're always talking college football, 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 football. You want to talk football? Get into our Gilded chat. Just reach out to us on Twitter. We'll hook you up. And especially during fantasy season this upcoming season, fantasy football, any questions you have, you can go in there and ask your start sit questions. Ask, look for advice. You're going to get answers from us. And also in Gilded as well, Monday night, Wednesday night, and Friday night, pretty much every week. George Reed, my colleague here at Toils and Titles, George Reed, runs mock drafts on Sleeper in our Gilded chat. So if you're really into that, please reach out to us. We'd love to have you. Okay, anyway, guys, so let's talk about Jalin Hyatt. And I'm super excited to talk about him. You look at like our weapons now. What a difference. What a difference between this offseason and the end of last season. We're now looking at a bare minimum, we're looking at, and when I say receivers, I'm putting the tight ends in here as too. Let's say I have down here at the banner, Giants potential impact offensive weapons. You got Saquon, who is a weapon, not just a running back, but a weapon outside of the running back position. You got Darren Waller at tight end. Isaiah Hodgins, who had a really good year for the Giants last year, the half year he played for us. Darius Slayton had an admirable year last year as well. Paris Campbell, who signed as an inexpensive 1 year free agent with us. He's got a lot of potential as well. His big thing in Indianapolis for the first part of his career was injuries, and but this guy, if he's healthy, Paris Campbell can have potentially a huge impact for this team. Wan'Dale Robinson, when he comes back healthy, I don't know if we're going to see the full and real Wan'Dale Robinson at any point this year. I imagine he's not going to be on the field until sometime in the middle of the season. And with the torn ACL, it's my understanding that usually it's the second season when you start seeing the real player back on the field in terms of their skill set. But still, Wan'Dale Robinson, I'll include him as well. You got Sterling Shepard coming back from a torn ACL, of course, and still a savvy veteran. We got Bellinger, our last year's rookie tight end. Don't sleep on him. He was a very big impact for this team. And we got Jalin Hyatt, who I'm going to talk about, and also honorable mention to Bryce Ford Wheaton, who I'm going to talk about in my next episode. My next episode, I'll be talking about the picks that we had in the back end of the draft, as well as Bryce Ford Wheaton, who I can't believe he wasn't even drafted. That blows my mind. And we lucked out in getting that guy as an undrafted free agent. But anyway, again, this episode is about Jalin Hyatt, but I'm trying to set things up here a little bit. Because Jalin Hyatt, here's what I think about him. I was super excited when we got him when we traded up to get him in the third round. I thought that was a cool move. I don't think he would have made it to us if we didn't move up. We moved up like 16 spots. I don't think he would have been there if we waited. I would not have been shocked if the Giants even said this. Joe Shane said that they thought about taking Jalin Hyatt in the second round when he was sitting there along with John Michael Schmitz, but they made absolutely the right decision in securing a really good center in John Michael Schmitz in the second round for us at pick 57, I believe it was. Um, but listen, Jalen Hyatt, man, if they had taken him in the second, I would have understood. I would have understood. But one thing I like about Jalen Hyatt in getting in the third round is that I never saw him as, and I'm not knocking him. I'm just trying to set things up for where I'm going with Jalen Hyatt. I do want to talk about his weaknesses so far too, of course, and I kind of want to start off with that. In that, I never saw him as a first round pick. There were plenty of mock drafts that I saw, even by experts, where I saw him kind of like oftentimes him being mocked to us at the back end of the first round, pick number 25. And there was kind of made me nervous because it's not something I would have done. I did not see Jalen Hyatt as first round value, no matter what. Even if all the cornerbacks, even if Deontay Banks was gone, and Joey Porter, and Emmanuel Forbes, who actually went before Deontay Banks, even if all those guys and all the the big four wide receivers who did go before we picked, all those guys were gone, there still would have been better value at other positions of need. I probably would have taken Julius Brents if all those guys were gone. I would have been comfortable with Julius Brents out of Kansas State, cornerback, at pick number 25. But there was no way I was taking Jalen Hyatt at pick number 25 because the body of work in college wasn't there. And again, I'm not crapping on the dude. I'm just giving you the net, kind of like the negatives first, and I'm going to get into is the positives, which I think are just great and just wonderful third round value. But he only had one season. It was his last season at Tennessee, but it was a breakout season. But that was the only season of production. He wasn't really featured in the Tennessee offense before that. But what a hell of a season it was last year. But he had a limited route tree, and really it was kind of like just for the most part, go deep Jalen, go deep Jalen, but it worked. Tennessee, I don't know the ins and outs of the Tennessee offense. A lot of my colleagues at the CFB Nation can tell you a lot more about that, but it's my understanding it was very, very spread offense, very weird offense, and Jalen Hyatt was definitely schemed by Tennessee. They were scheming him open quite a bit. If you see a lot of his highlight videos or even just regular just the game videos, um, a lot of times he was being stacked like side by side or even kind of like right behind or diagonally behind another wide receiver. So they used him. They used him. They definitely schemed to get him open to use his speed. And listen, what's cool about that is that he succeeded at an incredible level because the guy had, well, I believe 1,267 yards last year on 67 receptions and 15 touchdowns, five of them coming against Alabama in a win against Alabama, five of them. And Alabama's defense, listen, maybe it wasn't Georgia's defense last year, but Alabama's defense, we all know, is nothing to sneeze at all. And to score five touchdowns against that defense that's incredible. And you could even say, well, it was five. Listen, it might have been Alabama, but it was five touchdowns in one game. You know, so, but you know what? The thing is, you take away those five touchdowns, he still had 10 other touchdowns the rest of the season. And that's still a lot of touchdowns he had. He averaged 18.9 yards per reception. That's an incredible average. And this Giants offense, as the coach and the general manager said at the end of the season last year, that this team needed to get faster, and this team, they do this offense, they do want to spread this ball out more. They want to stretch the field. And because they had too much, they were limited in what they could do last year. And a lot of people, a lot of naysayers that, who crap on Daniel Jones say, oh, it was because of Daniel Jones. No, it wasn't. If their offense was limited last year in terms of in terms of their options on offense, the type of plays they could run, the schemes, it had nothing to do with Daniel Jones. At least that's how I feel about it. But you know what? It's not just me who feels about that. Obviously, the general manager and above all, the head coach felt that way about Daniel Jones, that, he wasn't the limiting factor to this offense last year. It was the weapons around him. And anyone could see, listen, Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton, Richie James, Bellinger, they were very admirable last year. They were a big reason why, outside of Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones, a big reason why, and the performance of the defense, which played well last year too. but they were a big reason why in offense, why we did go 9-7-1, and why we did have a playoff win. Again, they're not household names, but they're like solid. The trio of wide receivers last year, and Bellinger, like the trio of wide receivers, they were like solid number three options. And unfortunately, we didn't really have better than that, but at least they were on the field and they understood the offense and they succeeded in the offense. We did as much as we could last year. We really did. We did as much as we could on offense last year, and the limiting factor was not Daniel Jones. If that was the case, there's no way in hell they would have signed him to an extension of $40 million a year. Never would have happened. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Brian Dable's wrong, and maybe Joe Shane is wrong. But I don't think so. And I think they realized that this offense needed more weapons. So what do? They go out to get Darren Waller, they get Paris Campbell, and they drafted Jalin Hyatt. Now, Jalin Hyatt, as I was saying before, I never felt like he was first round talent. The second round, I think that was fair game. John Michael, Joe Tippmann had been drafted in the second round by the Jets, and the Giants took John Michael Schmitz soon after that. If both of those centers had been gone, I would have been cool with Jalin Hyatt in the second round of pick 57. But there he was sitting for us in the beginning of the third round. Joe Shane makes the move up to get him. And what he acquired was, I think, someone who's going to help this offense out a lot. I'm unsure exactly as to the impact that Hyatt will have his rookie year. He is an unpolished receiver in that he ran a very limited route tree at Tennessee. That's just what he was asked to do. So, but it doesn't mean he can't grow into a more savvy route runner with an expanded route tree with the Giants over time. I'm just saying, don't necessarily expect that his rookie year. He's got a lot to learn just to coming to the NFL, learning the terminology that's used here at the team. And but I have no doubt they're going to be looking to incorporate him early on in the season. But we do have a lot more options, in the receiving game than we've had in a long time. So there's not going to be any need to rush him. But I expect that as the season goes on, and fairly soon, it's not going to be like week 10 or anything like that. I'd say maybe by like week 4, you're going to start seeing, like similar to Wandale Robinson last year, you're going to start seeing a more and more and more expanded role for Jalin Hyatt. I don't think he'll ever be a wide receiver one, and that's okay. If he was going to be, I think if his ceiling, if people saw him as his ceiling as wide receiver one, if general managers saw that he never really would have made it to the top half of the beginning of the third round. He would have gone in the second round. Even like a Mingo, like a Jonathan Mingo, who was drafted, I think maybe by Carolina, if I recall correctly. But there's a guy who went in the second round, but who had wide receiver one potential. I don't think that's Jalin Hyatt. I don't think his ceiling is wide receiver one, but that's okay. He doesn't need to be that. He needs to be what we need right now, in lieu of a true wide receiver one, and that is another weapon in our arsenal. Okay, we've had. Uh, I'll put it this way. I use this analogy. We've got sniper rifles. We've got howitzer. We have an RPG. We've got a mounted machine gun. We don't have a nuke in terms of a wide receiver one. We do have Darren Waller who has the potential to be that, but we don't have a true wide receiver one, so we don't have that nuke. But we do have another weapon that's been added to our arsenal that we didn't really have, and that is a field stretcher along with Darren Waller, but on the outside. Darren Waller is going to be moved all over the place, but a lot of his danger, Darren Waller, comes up the seam. Jalin Hyatt, on the other hand, he's going to be moved around a lot as well. I'm sure this Brian Dable and Mike Kafka have a lot of plans for Jalin Hyatt. They're going to use him. They'll be moving him around a lot, but he's going to be on the outside for the most part. And we need that. We need a guy who's a real threat on the outside. We have Darius Slayton, but listen, I always liked Darius Slayton. I think other Giant fans had too many expectations for him after his rookie year. But I like him. I think he's dependable. Yes, he has his drops, but he still has his very good games. He's got a really good rapport with Daniel Jones, and I like having Darius Slayton on this team. I'm glad he's back. But Jalin Hyatt is he's a very good deep ball receiver, and we needed that. He's an excellent deep ball tracker. His tracking skills are phenomenal. I can't say that enough. That is definitely one of his strengths. Another strength of his is his speed. He ran a 4.4 at the combine, and I think he actually may be faster than that. I was actually kind of surprised that it wasn't like that his 40 yard wasn't like in the 4.3s, because when you watch him, the dude's fast. He's track fast. He's track fast, and he he's track fast, and I think he actually looks faster than 4.4. And it's funny, Joe Shane had said a few times, he brought this up a few times. If you watch him, if you go back and watch the press conference he gave with Brian Dable after Jalin Hyatt was drafted, and they're asked about Jalin Hyatt, he kind of referenced, like the 4.3 track, 4.3 speed for Jalin Hyatt. He did a 4.4, which is very fast, but not 4.3, but it's still very fast. I think he's faster than 4.4. He's got that outside speed, and Darius Slayton has it too. We needed another threat, and I don't know how much longer the Giants are going to keep Slayton around. I like him. I like him a lot, but after next year, they may see it as an option to release, to not retain Darius Slayton because they have Jalin Hyatt and maybe spend that $6 million a year they're spending on Darius Slayton elsewhere. And again, I'm not poo-pooing on Darius Slayton. I'm glad he's back. But that could be the long-term plan that, hey, Jalin Hyatt kind of takes over for Darius Slayton and is an upgrade, potentially an upgrade. But this guy's got real speed. Another strength of his, Jalin Hyatt's, is that he explodes off the line of scrimmage. That's something that like cornerbacks have had a difficult time in dealing with, is his explosion off the line of scrimmage. And once he gets past them, it's very difficult for them to keep up with him as well. One thing we haven't really seen is that there really wasn't too much press man coverage against him in college. So and again, they were scheming him. Tennessee was scheming him uh, open, basically, in some funky ways. But we'll see how he grows and reacts to going against press man, because that's going to happen. But his explosion off the line of scrimmage is an incredible strength of his. And it's really going to help us out a lot in terms of, again, he's an arsenal. He's a weapon that's added to our arsenal. He's not the nuke. He's not a wide receiver one, but he's something. He varies our offensive potential a lot. Think about this. Think about on a given play, they want to, at least the team, either offense either wants to go deep on a given play, or they want to show the potential of going deep. You're looking at Darren Waller going down the seam. You're looking at Darius Slayton or even Paris Campbell, but let's say Darius Slayton on the outside on one side of the field, and you got Jalin Hyatt on the outside on the other side of the field, outside the numbers. Teams are going to have to respect that. They're going to have to respect that speed and that talent, especially with Darren Waller. But you look at Jalin Hyatt on one side of the numbers, and on the outside, and you'll have Darius Slayton on the other side, outside the numbers, and Darren Waller in the middle. Underneath, you're going to have Saquon Barkley, who can run it or can take a pass. He can take a pass. You're going to have Wandale Robinson when he eventually comes back. You got Bellinger, and Bellinger's he's not an offensive behemoth or anything, but he's very capable, savvy receiver as a tight end. He's my type of tight end. I like him a lot. And he got Daniel Jones, who can run as well. Um, so this is going to be a very different offense next year, guys, this upcoming season. Be excited. Again, Jalin Hyatt's going to take a little time. They're going to work him up. He seems like a really intelligent, hardworking, good character kid. I absolutely love it. Um, so he's going to bring, speed on the outside. He's got explosiveness off the line of scrimmage, great ball tracking skills, and he's an excellent athlete. Let me read this to you over here from okay, so from it's volswire.usatoday.com. and this was just like a scouting report. And what they said here, I'm just reading from their article. Again, this is from voleswire.usatoday.com. And they said in an article on Jalin Hyatt, he recorded an 11-foot 3-inch broad jump, which was the best number among wide receivers. It was the third best broad jump of the 2023 NFL Scouting Combine, only behind Julius Brents, who I mentioned earlier, cornerback out of Kansas State, who I liked a lot, and Deonte Banks, our first round pick out of Maryland. Those are the only two players who had a better broad jump than that in this draft class than Jalin Hyatt. And again, broad jump, what that signifies is athleticism. It's one of the things that signifies athleticism. The guy can jump. He can go up for those balls. If there's going to be a contested catch, he's a little on the light side, but the guy can get vertical. Speaking of vertical, um, his 40-inch vertical was third best amongst wide receivers. His vertical jump ranked 15th overall among all positions at the 2023 NFL Combine. So he was third best amongst wide receivers on the 40-inch vertical, and he had the best broad jump out of all wide receivers. And then he posted the third fastest 40-yard dash among wide receivers with a 4.40. So it was the third fastest 40-yard dash in the entire draft class out of wide receivers. So excellent, excellent. Again, number one in wide receivers for broad jump, third best in wide receivers for vertical, and third best for 40-yard dash amongst wide receivers. So the athleticism is there. This guy needs coaching up. But again, he is just I forgot to add this to the stream before. This beautiful picture of our third round pick, Jalin Hyatt. But I'm really, really excited. I don't want to boost him up to be a potential wide receiver one down the road because I don't think that's what he will ever be. Um, that's okay. One day, and I think it's probably going to be fairly soon. Meaning like next season or next off season, maybe next draft class, we are going to have a legitimate wide receiver one. I do think that will be in the plans to really get that real elite wide receiver. And when that happens, Jalin Hyatt's going to look even better. He is going to be a complementary piece, just kind of like a Wandale Robinson, but on the outside. But even in lieu of a true elite wide receiver one right now, he's going to help this offense a lot. It's going to look, this offense, assuming knock on wood, everyone stays healthy. This offense has so much damn potential next year. I'm really excited to see it. And you look at the offensive line too with our Pro Bowl or All Pro left tackle and Andrew Thomas, John Michael Schmitz at center, who I think his ceiling is one or two Pro Bowls in his career, and his floor is don't worry about center position for the next 12 years. You can just send him out there and not have to worry about a thing. I think that's JMS's floor. And then Evan Neal, I think Evan Neal is going to make a really nice big jump this year in solidifying that right tackle position. I really do. And then I think we're gonna do pretty well at the guard positions. I think this offensive line is going to take a really big jump this upcoming season. I don't think it's going to be elite. I think we still have a lot of growing to do. It's still overall a very young offensive line, but that offensive line, I have a feeling a lot of things are really going to come together with this offense this year, and it's going to take a really nice big jump. And when you have Dable and Kafka, leading the scheming, uh, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, guys. And Saquon Barkley as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is like I said, we don't have the wide receiver one, but Jalin Hyatt is going to add a lot. It's going to be interesting to see him and Waller and Slayton or Campbell on the outside all at the same time. And again, this is a key thing. Teams are going to have to respect that. And when they have to respect that, they can't be loading up the box anymore. Like oftentimes they were last year. You saw it, especially in our playoff loss where we got our butts kicked by the Eagles. You know, they didn't have to respect the deep game. They knew that. And so if you don't have to respect the deep game, you can really load up your defense on the intermediate and short passes. and basically, load up the box because you didn't really have, any deep threats from the Giants offense to worry about. So, the Eagles obviously played that right. They kicked our teeth in, and but this year it's going to be different, man. It's going to be different. So I'm really, really excited about that. And let me check my notes to see if there's anything else I missed over here. I think that's pretty much. I think I covered everything, um, on Jalen Hyatt. But again, I just want to accentuate his positives just coming in as a rookie. That is the dude's phenomenal speed, his great explosion off the line of scrimmage, which cornerbacks have had a very difficult time dealing with and keeping up with. His great ball tracking ability deep. This guy was averaging 18.9 yards per reception last year. That is a phenomenal, outstanding, exceptional number. And he's got very good hands too. So you really can't ask for more out of third round potential in a wide receiver than Jalen Hyatt. I'm really glad we got him. You should be happy that we got him as well. In this offense, Giants fans, in 2023, I have no doubt if these guys stay healthy, if we don't have the run of injuries that we're so used to seeing pretty much over the past like 7, 8, 10 years, it's been bad with injuries, especially at our skill positions. It's been bad. If we can avoid that this year, I have no doubt that this offense is. I'm not going to put us in elite category, but man, we're going to be really good, and I think we're going to be a lot more consistent in putting up points, not just in the fourth quarter or, where you look at the final score and you see we've got like 28 points. A lot of times we were putting up points in the second half. I think we'll be putting up a lot more points in the first quarter, on the first drive, getting these games off to a good start offensively. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Man, it's going to be really, really cool. So it's going to be, I really, as long as these guys are healthy, I have no doubt that this offense is going to take a big, big jump forward, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see. And I think the defense is going to play really well too. Anyway, guys, I'm pretty much out of here. Just want to give a friendly reminder, if you can, Twitter handles for me and all my compadres here at Toilets and Titles and the CFB Nation. If you can give us all a follow, I'd really greatly appreciate it. Um, and please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, give us that 5-star Apple review. Really appreciate it because that helps us out a lot to grow our network. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Hopefully, I'll be in my new studio gig soon. We just had the basement painted. I plan on moving my operations down there. So you're not going to see these windows. You won't see reflections in the windows, and I'll have more of a studio down there. So that's going to be happening soon. But anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Next episode is going to be the final draft episode where I want to go in depth about our guys like Eric Gray and the cornerbacks that we took in the back end of the draft, as well as Bryce Ford Wheaton. So I'm looking forward to doing that too. Anyway, I'm out here. Everybody have a great week, and I'll see you